So my name is Luís Mendes. I'm tech lead, or for those that are using SAFe, I'm the system architect for the Peanut platform. So carrying on. My name is Luís Mendes. As I said, I'm tech lead from the Peanut platform. And today I'm going to talk to you about our platform, some lessons learned and some pains that we felt during the initial inception of this platform towards what we have right now. My question for you all is, do you know what is a platform? Do you already work with a platform in your company? Yeah, so I imagine that most of you. So they are new joiners, they started working today, so they didn't have that part of the onboarding. So just so that you know about that. So can you even going forward? And this is just giving you understanding regarding us in numbers, okay? You remember that Sylvia was talking before, saying that we have X amount of people, but at the end of the day, we have more engineers than that, because we cater also for Mercedes-Benz AG people that are working with us, this building to this platform. And in this case, when I'm saying the platform, the solution that we have regarding marketing and sales so that you can buy cars online. We have around 500 engineers working every day with the platform. From that, engineers, they are divided around 100 products, a little bit more. And from that products, they have around 300 services. We use microservice architecture, and most of the teams have 1 to 2 services, 13 services. It depends on the team and what they are trying to achieve there. And as you already know, we are across Portugal and Germany. So that you also know is that my girlfriend is a designer. She said to me what kind of color scheme I should use, and I completely ignored that. So this is what you get, okay? So Peanut is a cloud platform, and also the name of a team of teams, okay? Inside our Peanut platform, we have multiple teams, each one dedicated with a specific purpose. So, as you know, the platform, what it does, it basically builds building blocks so the developers can deploy things easily here. So we reduce friction in the end of the day. And as we say, and as we sell ourselves inside the company, we don't build, we build services and we build solutions, but what we build caters to the developer experience. It's always developer experience, okay? So, sorry, that said, when we started thinking about how can we build this team and what this team should do, we defined that this team should be scalable, okay? So this team shouldn't just grow as we have more products and as we have more services and more people. It shouldn't be organical, it should be analytical. We also, the platform should also have the capacity to look ahead. This means that when we are creating developers, we need to understand what they are building and the services that are coming forward, so that we don't hamper them in terms of they want a new service and we are not ready to build it, or we're not ready to give it to them. The second thing is we need to be price competitive. If you are a minimal layer providing velocity, providing user experience, we shouldn't explode the pricing when we are repackaging a service there. And one thing that we need to do is, even if we provide you a click experience, you should have always the DevOps mindset, okay? And that's a tricky part in terms of going forward. What does this mean for our product teams? At the end of the day, having a platform team means that we reduce friction. It's easier for them to deploy their code, test their code, run their code. The second thing, I think that we do is we also reduce the friction of using cloud services. Everything that we have, it's already automated, it's already tested, it's already pre-configured, pre-packaged. You just need to use it out of the box. Second thing is we ease onboarding. We have a huge library and huge documentation regarding onboarding, how to use any kind of service. And basically somebody starting at the company, after reading that, can understand how to deploy a service in a matter of hours, with all of the guidelines and all of the security features that needs to be ingrained in our services. The second thing is automation, and that's also tied to scalability and keeping to the error numbers low at the end of the day. Second thing is security. As a platform team, we have security ingrained in ourselves, so we are the first bastions of protecting the product teams from themselves and from externals. And also compliance, obviously. So compliance is always present there. So, question to yourselves, and probably you are asking how does a platform team is born? Okay, in our case, with lots of problems and chaos everywhere. Okay, we started in 2017 as like one or two cloud ops scattered in a specific team. Then, as you can see, in 2019, there was another team that popped in. 2019, another team that popped in. These teams were operating their own AWS accounts, their own services. They had their own ways of doing things, and most of these teams had different solutions and different ways of approaching to problems. And in 2020, in March 2020, we decided this doesn't escalate. Doesn't scale, and we need to start merging things. Okay. At the end of the day, what happened is in 2020, we basically merged everybody that we had. We started defining guidelines and defining rules of engagement with the product teams and vice versa. And now, there's is when we were born. And going forward in the future, we also started merging some products and some services that we saw that were appearing inside our ecosystem that we needed. We said, no, this should be a platform services we cater for everybody. This shouldn't be something that a small team is creating there, they are using, and then they have 2 or 3 teams using that. And basically this is that slide explaining our journey. So, next question is, now that you know how we were born, how are we structured? This slide shows you that. So, regarding the team roles, we have a program manager. So we have a product manager, product owners, scrum master, cloud engineers, customer success engineers, site reliability engineers, front-end developers, back-end developers, and then it's me as a tech lead or system architect or cloud architect, as you want to call it. And in terms of teams, we have 5 teams. We have hosting team. Hosting team provides every service that you need to deploy your to have your code up and running in the cloud. Okay, so the hosting team just caters to that. There's their mission in focus, making it something highly available and protecting it. Then we have the tooling team. Tooling team does everything around it. How can you test your code, and how can you bring it to the hosting team so that they can serve it? We have then a specific team just running CMS. We remember that we are marketing and sales, and the marketing part, we have a huge CMS that caters all world, and we have just one team catering that CMS. And then we have monitoring and performance team. And monitoring and performance team is one of the last teams that we engaged. And this team focus is basically on observability metrics from every product, and allows them to understand what is their velocity towards Dorian metrics, or even their velocity in terms of API requests and everything else around it. And it's them that define standards and the best practices so that the teams just can read it, apply it, and run with it. And then we have a meta team, and the meta team is where all of the product owners from these teams join together to understand or prioritize tasks, talk about things between themselves, and cross the line, because between all of these teams, there's lots of cross-pollination at the end of the day. So, question is, how do you prioritize things? How do you engage with your product teams? Yeah, so we now have SAFe, and as Andre was explaining to you, and very truly, so we also have SAFe, so we have also the PI increments, and internally we use Scrum for our teams. Okay, so I'm going just to jump this slide because we already have that conversation about it. So, and between our teams, as you saw, and as I also said, is that our teams are very tightly coupled together. Okay, they are working and focused in their specific stuff,
Can we try to put a bit louder?
Hello? Better? Okay, so.
And you can lower it low.
Hey? Yeah? Low over here. Okay, so better? Okay, perfect. So, lessons learned also on this one. So, second thing is, how do our teams teach themselves and how do they share knowledge between themselves? So, our teams have what they call tech sessions. Within themselves, once a week or 2 weeks, they have a tech session where they show the latest and greatest things that they are doing because they are working as an individual contributor, or they are working with the other two guys and they want to share that knowledge. And then we, on a bi-weekly, we have what we call the exchange, and the exchange is things that you are very proud of or new services that you created, you will show them to the entire platform team. And to show them how it was built, how it's run, where's the documentation, where are the guidelines, so that they also understand that the service was created and how it works. So a platform doesn't exist without challenges, and we've faced many of them. First challenge, prioritization. Okay, how can I prioritize when we have more than 100 product teams asking us for different kinds of features, and some of them popping from one day to another and say, I need this delivered tomorrow. Okay, so thank God we now have Safe. Safe allows us to predict what comes in the future and handles bulk of this prioritization. And then we also do micro prioritization inside our product teams. In this case, when I say product team, I'm talking about the peanut team. Second thing is balancing innovation and stability. Okay, everybody wants the latest and greatest, and some services cannot just go down. They need to be truly tested, so before releasing the next version to production, and that's always a problem that we face. And basically, what we try to do there is that we try to plan with the developers when we are going to release the next version of the software, what are the new features coming in, and we do that a little bit. And that cannot be done also without testing. Every product that you're releasing, you need to have a good testing. Second thing, skill gaps. And this is a hard one to solve. Imagine that a product team comes to you and says, we need Kafka. Nobody in our team knows anything about Kafka, how to protect Kafka, how to scale Kafka, how to do anything in Kafka. So you will always be met with that things, and then that has impact in prioritization, it has impact in terms of the availability that you want to deliver, and that also needs to be taken in consideration. Then velocity. Imagine that you're trying to deprecate old Kubernetes cluster, and you're deprecating it, you are as slow as the slowest team leaving it. Okay, how can you make, and we have that challenge, how can you make sure that everybody finishes in the date that we said that they need to finish? Okay, so that we can move forward. We can deprecate something, or we can release a new feature, but there are breaking changes and something needs to adapt to that. Okay, and the key thing that we found here is communication. Lots and lots of communication. Also having tracking tickets help a lot. Then, and this is also interesting, we have different maturity in our developer teams. We have teams that just want to take a peek under the hood. They want to do everything themselves. They want just the raw power. We have other teams that want just to flip the switch and something works. And this is also one of the aspects that we try to cater, okay? Even when we are thinking about a solution, we are thinking about, okay, when comes a team that knows what they are doing and they want a little bit more power, until where they can go towards. So, and key takeaways of this whole thing is cross-functional teams. So right now, as you saw, in the platform, in the Peanut platform, we have all kinds of people working with us. cloud ops developers, front-end developers, back-end developers, SREs. You need that kind of mix working in a platform team. If you are just having cloud ops, you're losing lots of experience there. You bring at least 1 or 2 developers to your team. It will make worlds of difference. Remember now, infrastructure is code. Some cloud ops don't have that clicking mindset. Okay, they are really already building code, but they are not testing it. They are not trying to do what they are not understanding how dependencies work and things like that. And developers will help you go to the next level. Second thing, close the loop early. Okay, when launching a new service, have already set up early adopters. They are the guys that are going to say if the solution that you're building works as they expected, doesn't work as they expected, and they are the first guys that are testing your documentation, or better yet, if they are senior enough, they are probably going to build most of your documentation for you. And that's a huge win for us. Build a community. Don't have support channels. Okay, so that's a huge pain. Okay, and we have that problem, and we are trying to solve it. So if you have a CI/CD channel, the guys that are catering to CI/CD are dying inside, I imagine. Okay, with lots of different questions of things that they don't even know what's breaking, but somebody came, oh, it's the CI/CD, it's breaking, so it's your problem. So you need to start building a community. If developers are working with you, or when I say developers, I'm taking product teams or taking close enough attention to that channel. If you build a community, when a developer breaks something, probably another developer will, oh, I already did that, and last week it's just a configuration in your app or something like that. Okay, build a community. Without that, it doesn't scale. Second, onboarding process. I don't know how it works with you, but we have new services coming in, new teams coming in, trying to develop new services, and just having documentation doesn't work. Okay, as you saw there, we have a role called Customer Success Engineer. This is highly skilled SRE or backend developer or whatever. Okay, that when the team comes in, they tell them what they already built or what they are wanting to what they want to build, and it explains how the platform works and shows them this is exactly the part of documentation that you should be reading, or I can assist you in some part of the migration with some hints and insights. That makes everything faster and reduces the friction from this new team joining your platform in a world. Second, security left. Okay, so this means that the security should be ingrained in your platform from the first service that you're creating. If you are starting to new service, think about what are the security issues and implications with that. It's going to be exposed to the world. Would you have some CDN or WAF protecting it? How would it be configured? Okay, if you have a security specialist in your team, involve it early in the process. We are a big team. Okay, we have for around 40-ish people, and we have 5 teams, and we just have a security architect, so it doesn't scale. What we created in the end of the day is that we have a role that anybody inside the team can have that role, and it's called a security champion. Okay, and that security champion is somebody that's trained by the security architect in what things he should be aware of when the team is creating a new service, and reports directly to him. Okay, and he has some formal training and everything else. So it's a way that you can start bringing security directly to your teams. So that's me and the rest of the presentation.
So how do you pick the early adopters that actually push the product forward?
So to be honest, the early adopter for us, the biggest success that we have is with the more senior teams. Okay, they are the ones that, for example, understand how Kubernetes. So Kubernetes isn't the question. Okay, and if they have a problem in Kubernetes, they will just fix it and go forward with that. Okay, and they are focusing the product that they are trying to help us improve, and other barriers that appear, they can solve it by themselves. Okay, so that's the biggest key learning that we have. We involved different maturity teams, and we saw that the most performing teams are the ones that bring best results on that. But there's also a problem. That means that if they are high-performing teams and they can do lots with very little documentation, they are not the best teams to be the second wave of coming in. You need also to balance a little bit that with more junior teams.
Hi, my name is Edgar. I'm from FCCN, and I have actually two questions for you. The first one is, I saw in your presentation that you had a lot of different teams or platforms, and then you combine them into one.
Exactly. So,
in our organization, we are currently feeling that we have the same problem. We have a lot of the same thing replicated. How did you manage to give to manage to convince the upper echelon, the managers and the organization CEOs, that it was necessary to join forces and to collaborate in one single team that will help all the others, like creating the blocks for each of the others?
So for us, it was easy, okay? Because the gods were smiling to us, and our program manager, okay, is also a technical person. So he immediately understood that having different teams focusing specific things, where it was a pain to refocus people, move people around, okay. But in the end of the day, he knew that was key to build a faster iteration process inside that kinds of technology like hosting, tooling, and things like that.
And the second one is actually...
Sorry, Felipe. It's totally indeed what you mentioned, but the second thing, so remember when we started, we had this conflict as well, this server there. It was even the time with Carbus, and that was also, I think you just mentioned very well, as well as you had somebody who can make the translation between business and also the technical perspective that helps about. And I think that is more what is needed. Sometimes also from the technical perspective, if you can put in a way that you give the transparency and people is able to follow in from the business, I think then you can really then remove some blockers. That's also that you need one of those both sides that you get this translation, and I think the people are going to be able to hear. What I can say sometimes, if you focus extremely the technical perspective and the other side is not able to understand you, even if your GP is there, this will not happen. So we brought in this presentation something how to make things simple and easier. And I think this abstraction is a key success factor when you're negotiating with people who do not understand a lot about the technology. So how you can translate the message, and as soon as they understand it, they need to buy it, because at the end we are aiming at the same thing. And just sorry, Luís, to interrupt, but I remembered his child, and it was yeah.
Thank you, Sylvia. So please add floor.
Hi, I was curious about the divide between the hosting and the monitoring teams, because to me it sounds very that they should be the same people, but I'm wondering, how does that work? How do you have a hosting team and a monitoring team, and how do they work together, and what is the differences? What are the differences?
So monitoring team basically sets, so monitoring team provides all of the monitoring infrastructure, okay? And the services and documentation around how things should be monitoring, how and what to monitor as a baseline. Obviously, then products need to know what they want to monitor in terms of business metrics or whatever. Exactly. So this team does more application monitoring. They provide the baseline infrastructure and everything under it, okay? And guidelines how can I understand that metric came from a specific product. So you need to tag your data with this tag or things like that. So, and this monitoring team provides that. This monitoring team also provides a curating, a governance service to everybody that's doing monitoring, because if you allow people to just use the monitoring platform, in the end of the day, you would be monitoring with by each one of the teams the same thing 20 times a day or something like that. So this monitoring team does exactly that. It tries to abstract all of this and provide this as a service. And then the monitoring and the hosting team, what they do is they piggyback on that guidelines and follow with them. And obviously, the hosting team is responsible for incident management and monitoring the hosting platform, okay? And as the developers for monitoring and hosting their own services. But in the end of the day, the service is there and they can just use it.
Okay. So thank you a lot.
Thank you very much for having me.